My stepdaughter brought her mother to spend Christmas in my home, without my permission, so I acted. I walked into my living room on Christmas morning and froze. There, sitting on my couch, drinking coffee from my favorite mug, was a woman I'd never met, a woman who had no right to be in my house, a woman my stepdaughter had invited to spend Christmas with us without asking me, my husband's ex-wife, in my home on Christmas morning. "Oh, you must be Janet," she said brightly, as if this was completely normal. "I'm Nicole. Kayla's told me so much about you." I looked at my stepdaughter Kayla, standing in the doorway with a defiant expression, then at my husband David, who wouldn't meet my eyes, and I realized they'd planned this, all of them, brought her into my home without my permission, and expected me to just accept it. So I acted. "My name is Janet Morrison. I'm 52 years old. I've been married to David for 8 years. I've been Kayla's stepmother since she was 10 years old. And on Christmas morning, in the house I've owned for 15 years, the house I bought before I ever met David, my stepdaughter brought her biological mother to stay for the holiday without asking me. This is the story of what happened when I refused to be disrespected in my own home, when I drew a line that should never have needed drawing, when I learned that sometimes acting decisively is the only way to protect yourself. Let me start at the beginning so you understand how we got here. I met David 9 years ago. I was 43, divorced for 5 years, living in a house I'd bought with my own money after my first marriage ended. 3 bedrooms, nice neighborhood, completely paid off, my sanctuary. David was recently separated, going through a difficult divorce from Nicole. They had 1 daughter together, Kayla, then 9 years old. Nicole had left David for another man, someone she'd been seeing for months before David found out. David was devastated, betrayed, trying to figure out how to co-parent with someone who'd blown up their family. We met at a work conference, started talking. He was kind, funny, still healing but trying. We dated for a year before he introduced me to Kayla. That first meeting was tense. Kayla was 10, still angry about the divorce, clearly hoping her parents would get back together. She looked at me like I was an obstacle to that dream. "You're not my mom," was the first thing she said to me. "I know," I replied calmly. "I'm not trying to be, but I care about your dad, and I'd like to get to know you." She didn't respond, just stared at me with Nicole's eyes. I'd seen photos and walked away. Over the next year, as David and I got more serious, I tried everything to connect with Kayla. Took her shopping, went to her school events, cooked meals she liked, asked about her interests. She was polite but cold, answered questions with 1 word, never initiated conversation. Made it clear I was tolerated, not accepted. "Give her time," David said. "The divorce was hard on her. She'll come around." I gave her time, gave her space, didn't push. When David and I got engaged after 2 years of dating, I asked Kayla if she'd like to be part of the wedding somehow. "No thanks," she said flatly. "It's your wedding, not mine." We got married in a small ceremony. Kayla attended, sat in the front row with a neutral expression, left immediately after. Nicole didn't come. She was still with the man she'd left David for, now remarried herself. After the wedding, David moved into my house, the house I'd owned outright for years. We discussed this carefully. I wasn't willing to sell and buy something together. This was my home, my security. I'd worked hard to pay it off. "I understand," David said. "I appreciate you letting me move in. I know it's your house." Letting him move in. Those were his words. Acknowledging this was my space, and he was a guest I'd chosen to welcome. Kayla came every other weekend and Wednesday nights, the custody arrangement David and Nicole had worked out. When she was with us, she had her own room. I decorated it neutrally, asked her what she wanted, let her personalize it. She barely used it, spent most of her time in there with the door closed, came out for meals, went back in, made it clear she was counting the hours until she could go back to Nicole's. "She's just adjusting," David said. "It's hard for kids in blended families." I tried to be understanding, patient, respectful of her feelings, but it hurt. I wasn't asking her to forget Nicole, wasn't trying to replace anyone, just wanted basic respect in my own home. Years passed. Kayla went from 10 to 13 to 15. The coldness never thawed. If anything, it got worse as she became a teenager. She'd make comments. Mom's house is nicer. Mom's cooking is better. Mom understands me. Fine. I wasn't competing with Nicole. If Nicole's house was Kayla's preferred space, that was okay. But the constant comparisons in my home, the home I'd owned before any of them were in my life, wore on me. At 16, Kayla asked if she could change the custody arrangement. Spend more time at Nicole's, less time with us. David was heartbroken. Why? What did I do? It's not you, Dad. It's just, I'm more comfortable at Mom's. This house doesn't feel like home. This house, my house, didn't feel like home to her. I tried not to take it personally, but how could I not? I'd spent 6 years trying to make her feel welcome, and she was rejecting not just me, but my entire home. The custody arrangement changed. Kayla came once a month for a weekend. That was it. David was depressed about it. I'm losing my daughter. You're not losing her. She's just choosing to spend more time at her mom's house. That's her right. But she barely comes here anymore. And when she does, she can't wait to leave. I didn't say what I was thinking. Maybe that's because she's never tried to feel at home here. Never tried to have a relationship with me. Never accepted that this is part of her life now. Last year, Kayla turned 18. Started college locally, living at Nicole's house. We saw her maybe twice in 6 months. David tried to stay connected, called her weekly, texted, asked to meet for coffee or dinner. Sometimes she agreed. Usually she had excuses. She's busy with school, I said, trying to be supportive. She makes time for Nicole, David said bitterly. I see her Instagram. She's at Nicole's house all the time. They go shopping together, have girls' nights. She has time for her mother, but not for me. I felt for him. I did. But I also thought, you let her pull away. You never insisted she make an effort with us. You prioritized her comfort over building an actual relationship. This past November, David brought up Christmas. I want Kayla to come here for Christmas this year. We haven't had a holiday with her in 2 years. Okay, invite her. I'm worried she'll say no. Then we'll have Christmas, just the two of us. It'll be fine. David called Kayla, invited her for Christmas. She hesitated. I don't know, Dad. Mom wants me there too. You can do Christmas morning with us and evening with her. Or vice versa. But I want to see you on Christmas. Long pause. Then, okay, I'll come for Christmas morning. David was elated. Started planning. Talked about what we'd cook. What gifts to get Kayla. He was like a kid himself, so excited to have his daughter home for the holiday. I was happy for him. Genuinely. If this helped repair their relationship, great. December arrived. Christmas 2 weeks away. David kept checking with Kayla, making sure she was still coming. Yes, Dad. I'll be there Christmas morning. The week before Christmas, I started preparing. Cleaned the house, decorated, planned the menu, bought groceries, wrapped presents. On Christmas Eve, David and I stayed up late finishing preparations. Everything was ready. The tree was lit, presents underneath, food prepped for tomorrow's brunch. We went to bed around midnight, both of us excited for Kayla to arrive in the morning. I woke up at 7 a.m. on Christmas Day, made coffee, started setting up for brunch. At 8 a.m., I heard a car in the driveway. Looked out the window. Kayla's car. Right on time. I went to the front door to greet her. Opened it with a smile. Kayla was there, with luggage. And another woman, Nicole, David's ex-wife, standing on my doorstep. Merry Christmas, Kayla said brightly. Mom's going to spend Christmas with us. I froze, stared at Nicole, at Kayla, at the luggage. What? I managed. I invited Mom to come for Christmas. Isn't it great? We can all be together. Nicole smiled. I hope it's okay. Kayla thought it would be nice for all of us to celebrate as a family. As a family. She said it like she was part of this household. Like she had a right to be here. Did you ask? I said to Kayla. My voice was calm. Too calm. Ask what? Did you ask if you could invite your mother to my house for Christmas? Kayla's smile faltered. I told Dad about it. When? Last night. I texted him. I looked past them into the driveway. David's car was there. He was home, awake, and he hadn't mentioned this to me. Wait here, I said. I closed the door, walked to the bedroom where David was just getting up. Did Kayla tell you she was bringing Nicole here? David looked guilty. She texted me last night, and you didn't think to tell me? I knew you'd say no. You're damn right I would have said no. This is my house, David. You don't get to let your ex-wife spend Christmas here without asking me. She's Kayla's mother. Kayla wants her here. I didn't want to ruin Christmas by saying no. So you just let it happen? Ambushed me on Christmas morning. I thought once Nicole was here, you'd be okay with it. It's just for the day. It means a lot to Kayla. I stared at my husband, the man I'd been married to for 8 years, who lived in my house, who just allowed his ex-wife to show up without warning because he didn't want to say no to his daughter. They're waiting at the door, I said coldly. With luggage. This isn't just for the day, is it? David wouldn't meet my eyes. Kayla asked if Nicole could stay through the weekend. Through the weekend. 3 nights. In my house. Get out, I said quietly. What? Get dressed and go let your ex-wife into my house since you've already decided she's welcome here. I need a minute. I locked myself in the bathroom, breathed, tried to process this. My stepdaughter had brought her mother to my house without asking me. My husband had known and hadn't told me. And now I was expected to just go along with it because it was Christmas and Kayla wanted it. In my house, the house I'd owned before any of them existed in my life. I made a decision. I came out of the bathroom, got dressed, walked to the living room. Nicole was sitting on my couch, coffee in hand, chatting with David like this was completely normal. Kayla was showing her the Christmas tree, pointing out ornaments. They all looked up when I entered. So, I said pleasantly, Nicole, you're planning to stay through the weekend? If that's okay, she said. Kayla thought it would be nice. Kayla thought wrong. You're welcome to stay for breakfast. After that, you need to leave. Silence. Everyone's staring at me. Janet, David started. No, this is my house. I didn't give permission for an overnight guest. I wasn't even told she was coming. So she can stay for breakfast and then she needs to go. That's so rude, Kayla burst out. Mom came all this way. You can't just kick her out? I'm not kicking her out. She was never invited in. You brought her here without asking me. I asked Dad. Your father doesn't own this house. I do. And I get to decide who stays here overnight. Nicole stood up. I don't want to cause problems. Maybe I should just go. Don't go, Mom, Kayla said. This is supposed to be our Christmas. This is supposed to be Christmas with your father and me, I said calmly. That's what was planned. What you planned yourself. You don't get to change the arrangement without asking. But we're family, Kayla argued. Your mother and I are not family. I've been in your life for 8 years, and you've made it crystal clear. I'm not your family. Fine. But that means Nicole isn't my family either. And I don't have strangers stay in my house without permission. If you've ever had your boundaries completely violated in your own home, had people show up uninvited expecting to be welcomed, had your space invaded without consent, you know this feeling. The rage, the disbelief, the need to protect what's yours. Share your experience in the comments. And if these stories resonate with you, please subscribe to Lindsay Stories to continue these important conversations. David pulled me aside. Can we talk privately? We went to the kitchen. He closed the door. You're embarrassing me, he said in a low voice. I'm embarrassing you. You ambushed me with your ex-wife on Christmas morning. I told you. I didn't want to fight about it. Kayla was so excited about this. So you decided to let it happen and force me to deal with it? In my own house? It's our house. We're married. No, it's my house. You moved into my house 8 years ago. Remember? You said you understood it was my home, that you appreciated me letting you live here. That was different. We're married now. This is our home. Then why didn't you consult me about having your ex-wife stay for 3 days? If it's our home, don't I get a say? He was quiet. You knew I'd say no, I continued. So you just let it happen without telling me. That's not partnership, David. That's betrayal. Nicole is Kayla's mother. She has a right to be part of Kayla's Christmas. At Nicole's house, or at a restaurant. Not in my living room without my permission. One Christmas, Janet. That's all Kayla's asking for. One Christmas where her family is together. Her family is at Nicole's house. We're not Nicole's family. I'm certainly not. You're being selfish. Those words hit like a slap. Selfish. For not wanting my husband's ex-wife in my house without warning. Get out, I said quietly. What? Get your ex-wife and your daughter and get out of my house. All of you. Janet, you can't be serious. I'm completely serious. You ambushed me, violated my boundaries, called me selfish for not accepting it, so leave. Go spend Christmas at Nicole's house, since that's apparently where Kayla wants to be anyway. Where will I go? I don't care. Hotel. Nicole's place. Anywhere but here. This is my home. No, it's my home. And I'm telling you to leave. He stared at me, shocked. You'd really kick me out on Christmas? You really invited your ex-wife here without telling me on Christmas. So yes, leave. I walked back to the living room. Nicole and Kayla were still there, talking quietly. Everyone needs to leave, I said calmly. This Christmas isn't happening here. Janet, please, Nicole said. I'm sorry if this was inappropriate. I truly didn't know it would be a problem. You showed up at your ex-husband's new wife's house with luggage planning to stay for days. How would that not be a problem? Kayla said it was fine. Kayla is 18 years old and doesn't own this house. She had no authority to invite you. Kayla was crying now. I just wanted one Christmas with both my parents. Is that so wrong? No, it's not wrong. But you arranged that at a neutral location. Or at your mother's house. Not here. Not without asking me first. I hate you, Kayla shouted. You've always been horrible. You've never cared about me. You're just a jealous, bitter woman who can't stand that Dad loved someone before you. I took a breath, stayed calm. You're entitled to your opinion, but this is still my house, and you all still need to leave. David came out of the kitchen. Kayla, get your stuff. We're leaving. Where are we going? She asked, voice shaking. Hotel. I'll book something. You can come to my place, Nicole offered. There's room. The three of them gathered their things, Kayla crying, David silent and furious, Nicole uncomfortable but trying to keep the peace. At the door, David turned to me. I hope you're happy. You ruined Christmas. I didn't ruin Christmas. You did. When you decided your ex-wife was welcome in my home without asking me. They left, got in their cars, and drove away. And I stood in my living room, surrounded by Christmas decorations and untouched presents, completely alone. I spent Christmas Day by myself, ate the brunch I'd prepared, watched movies, tried not to think about what had just happened. But I couldn't stop thinking about it, replaying the morning, wondering if I'd overreacted, if I should have just let Nicole stay, if I'd destroyed my marriage over one day. No, I decided I hadn't overreacted. They'd violated my boundaries in the most fundamental way, invited someone into my home without my permission, and then called me selfish when I objected. I texted David that evening, you can come home when Nicole leaves. Until then, stay wherever you want. He didn't respond. The next morning, I got a call from David's sister, Karen. What the hell did you do? She said without preamble. Excuse me. David called me. Said you kicked him out on Christmas. Wouldn't let him bring Kayla's mother over. What's wrong with you? Did he tell you he invited his ex-wife to stay in my house for 3 days without telling me? He said Nicole came for Christmas, and you threw a fit. He ambushed me. Let Kayla invite Nicole without checking with me first, then expected me to just accept it. It's Christmas. You couldn't be flexible for one day? It wasn't one day. It was 3 days. And no, I couldn't be flexible about someone staying in my house without my permission. You're his wife. Nicole is his daughter's mother. Their family. Nicole is not my family, and this is my house. It's your marital home. No. It's my house that I owned before David, that I let him move into, and I get to decide who stays here. You're being controlling and petty. I hung up, blocked her number. Over the next few days, I got texts and calls from other family members, David's brother, his mother, his friends, all of them telling me I'd overreacted, that I should have been more understanding, that I'd ruined Christmas for everyone. Not one person asked me how I felt. Not one person acknowledged that I'd been ambushed in my own home. David stayed away for 4 days. Finally, on December 29th, he came home. Nicole left this morning. he said. Back to her house. Good. We need to talk. Yes, we do. We sat down. He looked exhausted. I'm sorry, he said. I should have told you Kayla wanted to bring Nicole. I shouldn't have just let it happen. No, you shouldn't have. But Janet, you have to understand. Kayla is my daughter. She wanted her mom there. I didn't want to disappoint her. So you disappointed me instead. Betrayed me in my own home. I didn't think you'd react so strongly. How did you think I'd react to waking up on Christmas morning to find your ex-wife on my couch? I thought you'd be uncomfortable, but would let it go for Kayla's sake. That's the problem, David. You thought I'd just accept it because saying no would make me the bad guy. So you didn't give me a choice. I made a mistake, I'm sorry. But kicking us out on Christmas, that was extreme. What was extreme was inviting your ex-wife to stay for 3 days without asking me. I responded appropriately to a boundary violation. Kayla's devastated. She thinks you hate her. I don't hate her. But I won't be disrespected in my own home. Not by her. Not by Nicole. And not by you. So what now? Where does this leave us? That depends. Are you going to respect that this is my house and I have final say over who stays here? Or are you going to keep prioritizing Kayla's wants over my boundaries? I can't choose between you and my daughter. I'm not asking you to choose. I'm asking you to respect me, to consult me before making decisions that affect my home. That's not choosing. That's basic respect. And if Kayla wants to visit and wants Nicole to come too, then they meet somewhere else. Or Nicole stays at a hotel. Or you go to Nicole's house, but she doesn't stay here without my permission. That's unreasonable. It's my house. I make the rules. It's supposed to be our house. Then treat it like our house. That means we both get a say. You don't just invite whoever you want without consulting me. David was quiet for a long time. Then, I don't know if I can stay married to someone who kicked me out on Christmas. And I don't know if I can stay married to someone who ambushed me with his ex-wife in my own home. So, I guess we're at an impasse. We slept in separate rooms that night. The tension was unbearable. Over the next few weeks, things didn't improve. David was cold, distant. We barely spoke beyond logistics. In mid-January, he told me he was moving out. I can't do this anymore, he said. I can't be in a marriage where I'm constantly told this isn't my home, where my daughter isn't welcome to bring her mother around. Your daughter is welcome. Your ex-wife isn't. There's a difference. Not to Kayla there isn't. And I have to prioritize my relationship with my daughter. By leaving your wife? By not staying with someone who sees me as a guest in her house instead of her partner. I saw you as my partner until you betrayed that partnership by ambushing me. We're not going to agree on this. I'm moving out. We can figure out the rest later. He packed his things, moved into an apartment, filed for separation a week later. I was devastated. 8 years of marriage ending because I wouldn't let his ex-wife stay in my house. But also relieved because I'd seen clearly who he was. Someone who would violate my boundaries, call me selfish and leave rather than respect me. My friends were divided. Half thought I'd done the right thing. Half thought I should have compromised. It was one Christmas, my friend Lisa said. You could have let it go. It wasn't about one Christmas, I explained. It was about respect. About him making decisions in my house without consulting me. But he's your husband. Doesn't he live there too? He lived there. But it's still my house. And he acknowledged that when he moved in. He can't suddenly claim equal ownership when he wants to invite someone I haven't approved. That seems controlling. Is it controlling to want to be consulted before overnight guests stay in my home? Lisa couldn't answer that. My friend Rachel, on the other hand, was firmly on my side. He ambushed you, she said flatly. Let his ex-wife into your house without warning. That's unforgivable. His family thinks I overreacted. His family wasn't there. They don't get an opinion. You set a boundary. He violated it. You enforced consequences. That's not overreacting. That's self-respect. I needed to hear that. Needed someone to validate that I hadn't been crazy or unreasonable. In February, Kayla reached out, texted me. Can we talk? I agreed to meet her for coffee. She looked nervous, older somehow, like the past 2 months had aged her. I'm sorry, she said immediately. I should have asked you before bringing Mom. That was wrong. Thank you for saying that. I wanted one Christmas where it felt like we were a family again. Like before the divorce. I didn't think about how you'd feel. I understand wanting that. But Kayla, your dad and your mom aren't a family anymore. They haven't been for 10 years. And I'm not an obstacle to some reunion fantasy. I know. I see that now. Mom's moved on. Dad's moved on. It was stupid to think we could all just be together like nothing happened. It's not stupid to want your family whole, but you have to accept the reality of how things are. Are you and Dad getting divorced? I don't know. He moved out. He's angry at me. Maybe it's over. I don't want you to divorce because of me. This isn't because of you. It's because your dad chose not to respect me. That's between him and me. He says you kicked him out. I asked him to leave after he ambushed me with your mother. That's not the same as kicking him out for no reason. Kayla was quiet. Then, Janet, I've been really unfair to you. For years, you tried so hard with me, and I never gave you a chance. Why not? Because I wanted my parents back together. And you being with Dad meant that wasn't going to happen. So I resented you. I understand that. But Kayla, I was never trying to replace your mom. Never trying to take her place. Just trying to be a positive presence in your life. I know. And I'm sorry I didn't let you. I'm sorry for all the mean things I said. For always comparing you to Mom. For never appreciating what you did. Thank you. That means a lot. Do you think you and Dad can work it out? I don't know. He needs to understand why what he did was wrong. And I don't think he does. He thinks I overreacted. He does. But Janet, you didn't overreact. What you did was set a boundary. And I'm starting to understand why that matters. We talked for another hour. It was the most honest conversation Kayla and I had ever had. When we left, I felt like maybe something had shifted. Maybe our relationship could eventually be repaired. But David and I, that was still broken. In March, he asked to meet. Said he wanted to talk about reconciliation. We met at a restaurant. He looked tired. I miss you, he said. I miss our life. I miss you too. Can we try again? Can we fix this? That depends. Do you understand why I asked you to leave on Christmas? He hesitated. Then, I understand you felt disrespected. That's not an answer. Do you understand that inviting Nicole to stay without asking me was wrong? I understand I should have told you. Not told me. Asked me. There's a difference. Okay. I should have asked you, I'm sorry. And if I'd said no, what would you have done? Long pause. Then, I don't know. Kayla wanted it so badly, so you would have argued with me. Tried to convince me. Maybe done it anyway. I don't know. David, that's the problem. You're sorry you didn't tell me. But you're not sorry you invited her. You're not sorry you prioritized Kayla's wants over my boundaries. You're just sorry I reacted the way I did. What do you want me to say? I want you to understand that my home, our home, is not a place where your ex-wife gets to stay without my explicit permission. That going forward, if Kayla wants Nicole involved in something, you run it by me first. And if I say no, you respect that. Even if it hurts Kayla? Kayla is an adult. She can have a relationship with her mother that doesn't include invading my space. You're asking me to put you before my daughter. I'm asking you to respect me as much as you respect her. That's not putting me before her. That's treating me like an equal partner. He looked torn. I don't know if I can promise that. If Kayla needs something, then we're done. Because I can't be with someone who will violate my boundaries whenever his daughter asks him to. We left the restaurant without resolution. In April, the separation became a divorce. We split our shared assets. There weren't many, since I'd kept my finances separate. He moved his things out of my house completely. 8 years of marriage. Over. Not because we didn't love each other, but because he couldn't respect my boundaries in my own home. It's been 6 months now since that Christmas morning. 6 months since I walked into my living room and found Nicole on my couch. People still ask me if I regret it, if I wish I'd just let Nicole stay, if I think I overreacted. And my answer is always the same. No, I set a boundary. My husband violated it. And when I enforced that boundary, he chose to leave rather than respect it. That's not my fault. That's his choice. Kayla and I are slowly rebuilding a relationship. She texts me occasionally. We've had coffee a few times. She's apologized repeatedly for her part in what happened. I was so focused on what I wanted that I didn't think about you at all, she told me last month. I'm sorry. I forgive you. You're learning. We all make mistakes. Are you happier now? Without Dad? I thought about that. I'm more peaceful. I'm in my own space without constantly wondering if I'll be ambushed next. So yes, in a way, I'm happier. I'm sorry it ended this way. Me too. But some endings are necessary. David and I don't speak. He's angry at me still. Tells people I'm controlling. That I chose my house over my marriage. I chose my self-respect over being disrespected. There's a difference. My name is Janet Morrison. I'm 52 years old. On Christmas morning, my stepdaughter brought her mother to spend the holiday in my home without my permission. So I acted. I enforced my boundary. I asked them all to leave. And my marriage ended because my husband couldn't accept that I had the right to control who stayed in my own home. This isn't a story about being inflexible. It's about knowing your worth, about refusing to be ambushed, about understanding that sometimes protecting yourself means making decisions others won't like. I don't regret what I did. I regret that it was necessary, but it was. And I'm building a life now that's mine, in my house, with my rules, and anyone who can't respect that isn't welcome. If this story resonates, if you've had your boundaries violated in your own home, been expected to just accept disrespect for the sake of peace, or had to make hard choices to protect yourself, share this. Comment with your experience. Let others know they're not alone in these impossible situations. And subscribe to Lindsay Stories, because these truths need to be told. Because boundary violations in families are common and need to be called out. Because we're done accepting disrespect to keep the peace. Thank you for witnessing my story, for making space for women who choose self-respect over false harmony. Christmas morning, ex-wife on my couch, in my house, without permission. I acted, and I'd do it again. That's everything. What I haven't fully explained yet is what it's like to have your home violated, not broken into, not damaged, but violated through boundary invasion, through people showing up expecting welcome when they have no right to be there. Your home is supposed to be your sanctuary, the one place in the world where you have complete control, where you decide who enters, who stays, who's welcome. When someone violates that, when they show up uninvited and expect you to just accept it, they're not just disrespecting you. They're attacking your fundamental sense of safety and control. That Christmas morning when I walked into my living room and saw Nicole sitting there, I felt violated in a way I'd never experienced before. This was my space, my home, that I'd owned for 15 years, and there was a stranger sitting on my couch like she belonged there. The presumption of it, the entitlement, the complete disregard for whether I'd given permission, and worse, my own husband had allowed it, had known it was happening, and hidden it from me because he knew I'd object. That's not just boundary violation, that's betrayal. After David moved out, I spent weeks processing what had happened, trying to understand how we'd gotten to that point, how 8 years of marriage had ended over one Christmas morning. But it wasn't really about one morning. It was about 8 years of my boundaries being slowly eroded, 8 years of being expected to accommodate Kayla's every want, 8 years of my home being treated like David's home with me, as just another occupant, instead of the owner. I started seeing a therapist in February. Dr. Williams specialized in blended family dynamics and boundary issues. Tell me about your house, she said in our first session. What about it? How did you come to own it? I explained. How I'd bought it after my first divorce, how I'd paid it off over 10 years, how it represented my independence, my security, my fresh start. And when David moved in, how did you handle that transition? We talked about it. I made clear it was my house. He said he understood, said he appreciated me letting him live there. Letting him? Those were the words used? Yes. And over time, did that dynamic change? I thought about it. Yes. Gradually, he started referring to it as our house, making decisions about it without consulting me, like repainting the living room or inviting people over without asking first. And did you address that? Sometimes. But it felt petty to keep reminding him it was my house. We were married. Wasn't I supposed to share everything? Sharing and having boundaries aren't mutually exclusive. You can share space with someone while maintaining that you have final say over that space. That's what I thought. But when Christmas happened, David said I was treating him like a guest. That married people don't have my house and your house. It's all shared. What do you think about that? I think he's wrong. I bought this house before him. He moved into my space. That doesn't magically become equal ownership just because we got married, especially when I maintained separate finances and kept the house in my name only. It sounds like you had clear boundaries that weren't respected. Yes, and when I finally enforced them, I was called controlling. Enforcing boundaries isn't controlling. It's self-protection. That conversation helped me understand something crucial. I hadn't overreacted. I'd finally reacted appropriately after years of my boundaries being ignored. In March, before David asked to meet about reconciliation, I did something I should have done years ago. I consulted with a lawyer about property rights. The house is entirely in your name? The lawyer confirmed. Yes, I bought it before marriage. Never added David to the deed. Kept it separate in our prenup. Then legally, he has no claim to it, even in divorce. It's your separate property. He said it was our marital home. Legally irrelevant. If he contributed to mortgage payments, he might have a claim to reimbursement for those contributions. But you said the mortgage was paid off before he moved in. Yes, then he has no claim. He was essentially a guest in your home. A guest you chose to let stay, indefinitely. But your home, nonetheless. Hearing that validated what I'd always known. The house was mine. David had no legal right to decide who stayed there. His claim that I was being unreasonable was just his hurt feelings talking. When David and I met in March and he asked about reconciliation, I went in with that clarity. This wasn't about me being controlling. This was about me protecting what was legally and rightfully mine. I've talked to a lawyer, I told him during that conversation, about the house. Why? Because you keep saying it's our house, and I'm being unreasonable about who can stay there. But legally, it's not our house. It's my house. You have no claim to it. He looked uncomfortable. I know it's technically in your name. Not technically. Actually, completely. It's my property. You living there was a privilege I extended, not a right. That's a cold way to look at marriage. It's a realistic way to look at property. And David, if you'd respected that reality, we wouldn't be here. If you'd consulted me before inviting Nicole, if you'd respected my right to say no, if you'd treated my home as my space that you were grateful to share, we'd still be together. So this is all my fault? This is about respect. You didn't respect me or my property, and when I enforced my rights, you left. That's your choice, not my fault. That conversation made me realize he'd never really understood. He'd moved into my house thinking eventually it would become ours, that my ownership would fade into shared possession. And when I insisted on maintaining my ownership, he saw it as rejection rather than simply protecting what was mine. After that meeting, I knew reconciliation was impossible. We were fundamentally incompatible on this issue. He needed a partner who'd merge everything: property, finances, decisions. I needed a partner who'd respect boundaries and separate ownership. Neither approach is wrong, but they can't coexist in one marriage. The divorce was finalized in June. Clean, quick, uncontested. David got his personal belongings, half of the joint bank account we'd maintained for shared expenses, and his car. I kept my house, my retirement accounts, my separate finances. Everything I'd brought into the marriage stayed mine. He was bitter about it. 8 years together and I walk away with basically nothing. You walk away with what you brought in, I corrected. Just like I do. That's how separate property works. Most married couples share everything. Most married couples don't have one person showing up with significant assets and the other showing up with debt. I protected what I'd built. That was smart, not selfish. He didn't respond, but I could see it in his eyes. He'd always resented that I had more than him, had owned a house when he was renting, had savings when he had credit card debt, and he'd seen marriage as a way to access what I had. Not explicitly, not consciously, but underneath that's what it was. When I wouldn't let him treat my house as his house, when I wouldn't let his ex-wife stay without permission, when I insisted on maintaining my ownership, it threatened that access, so he left. In July, I ran into David's mother at the grocery store. She'd called me several times after Christmas, leaving voicemails about how I'd ruined the family. I'd blocked her number. She saw me in the produce section, walked over deliberately. "I hope you're happy," she said coldly. "Hello, Patricia. You destroyed my son's marriage, kept him from his daughter on Christmas, all because you couldn't share your precious house for one day. Your son invited his ex-wife to stay in my house for 3 days without asking me. I didn't destroy anything. I enforced a boundary. You're selfish and controlling. David is better off without you. If he's better off, then we're both happy with how things turned out. Kayla thinks you're horrible. Kayla apologized to me. We're actually rebuilding a relationship. So you're misinformed." Patricia looked shocked. "Kayla apologized to you?" "Yes. She realized she was wrong to bring Nicole without permission, and she's been very mature about taking responsibility for her part in what happened." "I don't believe you. I don't need you to believe me. But it's true nonetheless." I walked away, left her standing there in produce, probably calling Kayla to verify what I'd said. Later that day, Kayla texted me. "Grandma just called me asking if I apologized to you." I told her yes. She got really quiet and hung up. I ran into her at the store. She confronted me. I told her the truth. "She's been telling everyone you're a monster, that you kicked Dad out for no reason." I didn't correct her before because I felt guilty, but I told her today that what you did was right, that I shouldn't have brought Mom. How did she respond? She said I'm betraying Dad by saying that. I told her I'm not betraying anyone. I'm just being honest about what happened. "Thank you for standing up for the truth. It's the least I can do after everything." That conversation with Kayla meant more to me than she probably realized, because it confirmed something I'd been hoping, that she'd genuinely learned something from what happened, that she'd grown beyond the entitled teenager who thought she could invite whoever she wanted to someone else's house. In August, I made a decision. I was going to redecorate. The house still had elements from when David lived there. His preferred paint colors in the bedroom, the furniture arrangement he'd insisted on, little compromises I'd made to accommodate his presence. I spent 2 weeks repainting, rearranging, replacing, made the house completely mine again. When I finished, I invited Rachel over to see it. "It looks amazing," she said. "And it feels different, lighter somehow." "It feels like mine again," I said. "For 8 years I shared this space, made accommodations, compromised on how things looked. Now it's exactly how I want it." "How does that feel?" "Liberating. I didn't realize how much I'd given up until I took it all back." "Do you miss him?" I thought about that. I miss the idea of partnership, of having someone to share my life with. But do I miss David specifically? No. I miss who I thought he was, not who he actually turned out to be. "What's the difference?" "I thought he was someone who'd respect me, who'd consult me about decisions affecting my home, who'd put our partnership above his daughter's every whim. But he wasn't that person, so I don't miss the reality of who he was." "Are you open to dating again?" "Eventually, but not yet. I need to be alone for a while. Really alone. In my space, without having to accommodate anyone." That sounds healthy. It was, for the first time in 8 years. I didn't have to consider anyone else's preferences or needs or feelings when I made decisions about my home. I could paint whatever color I wanted, rearrange furniture without discussion, have complete control over my environment. It was glorious. In September, Kayla asked if she could come visit. Just her. No Nicole. No drama. "Of course," I said. "You're always welcome." She came over for dinner. We cooked together, something we'd never really done before. She helped me make pasta from scratch. "I'm sorry I was such a brat when I was younger," she said as we rolled out dough. "You were a kid dealing with divorce. That's hard. But I took it out on you." And you didn't deserve that. No, I didn't. But I understand why you did it. Do you think we can have a real relationship now? Like, actually be close? I'd like that. But Kayla, I need you to understand something. I'm not trying to replace your mom. I never was. I'm just me, someone who cares about you and wants good things for you. Can that be enough? It's more than enough. I actually think I need that. Someone who's not mom or dad, but who's still in my corner. We had dinner, talked about her college classes, her job, her friends. Normal conversation. Easy conversation. When she left, she hugged me. A real hug, not the stiff, obligatory hugs from before. Thank you, she said, for not giving up on me, even when I was awful. You're welcome. And Kayla, you weren't awful. You were hurt. There's a difference. After she left, I realized something. The divorce had given us something we'd never had before. A relationship independent of David. Before, I'd been David's wife who'd married into Kayla's life. Now, I was just Janet. Someone Kayla was choosing to have a relationship with because she wanted to, not because her dad expected it. That was better, healthier, more real. In October, David started dating someone. I found out through mutual friends. Are you okay? Rachel asked when she told me. I'm fine. He's allowed to move on. You're really okay? Yes, he and I are over. I don't want him back. I'm happy for him if he's found someone who makes him happy. You're handling this really well. I've had time to process. I'm past the anger, past the hurt. I'm just done. And that's okay. It really was. I didn't feel jealous or betrayed or upset. I felt nothing. The relationship was over. He was someone I used to be married to. That's all. Later that month, I did something I'd been considering for a while. I took a solo vacation, rented a cabin in the mountains for a week. Just me, no one else. I spent 7 days hiking, reading, sitting by the fire, not having to talk to anyone, not having to accommodate anyone's preferences, just existing in my own space. It was exactly what I needed. A reset, a reminder that I was complete by myself, that I didn't need a partner to be happy or fulfilled. When I came back, I felt different, lighter, more grounded, more certain that I'd made the right choice on Christmas morning, because that's what it came down to, a choice between accepting disrespect for the sake of peace or enforcing boundaries and facing consequences. I'd chosen boundaries, and despite the cost, my marriage, 8 years together, the life we'd built, I didn't regret it. November arrived, almost a year since that Christmas morning. I thought about how much had changed in 12 months. A year ago, I was married, living with David, trying to maintain peace with Kayla, compromising constantly on my own comfort in my own home. Now, I was divorced, living alone, building an actual relationship with Kayla, living exactly how I wanted in my space. Better, so much better. Rachel asked me once, "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd just let Nicole stay that Christmas?" Yes, I admitted. I wonder if David and I would still be together, if things would have been easier. Do you wish you'd done it differently? No, because letting Nicole stay wouldn't have fixed the underlying problem. David didn't respect me or my boundaries. That would have continued. Eventually, there would have been another incident, another boundary violation, and I'd have to decide again whether to enforce my limits or let them be crossed. So, you think it was inevitable? I think that Christmas forced an issue that needed to be forced. David and I were fundamentally incompatible on how to handle boundaries and property. Better to discover that and end things than spend more years in a marriage where I was constantly defending my right to my own space. She nodded. That makes sense. You seem happier now. I am. I'm at peace. And I was. Not perfect. Not without moments of sadness or loneliness. But overall, deeply at peace with who I was and how I lived. December arrived, the anniversary of that Christmas looming. Kayla asked what I was doing for the holiday. Probably spending it quietly at home. Maybe have Rachel and her family over. Nothing dramatic. Can I come? I was surprised. Don't you usually spend Christmas with your mom? I do, but I was thinking I could do Christmas Eve with Mom and Christmas morning with you. If you want me, I'd love that. And Janet, I promise, no uninvited guests. Just me. We both laughed, but I appreciated her saying it. Christmas Eve arrived, I decorated modestly, made a simple meal, wrapped a gift for Kayla. She showed up Christmas morning at 9, alone, as promised. We had coffee and breakfast, opened presents, talked and laughed. It was peaceful, warm, everything that last year's Christmas hadn't been. "Thank you for inviting me," Kayla said. "This means a lot. Thank you for coming, and for respecting my home. Always. I learned my lesson." After she left, I sat in my living room, the same living room where, exactly 1 year ago, Nicole had been sitting on my couch, and I felt nothing but gratitude. Gratitude that I'd enforced my boundary. Gratitude that the violation had been exposed and addressed. Gratitude that I was here, in my home, at peace. My name is Janet Morrison. I'm 53 now. Last year on Christmas, my stepdaughter brought her mother to my home without permission. I asked them to leave. My marriage ended, and I don't regret it, not even a little, because I learned something crucial that Christmas morning. Your home is your sanctuary, the one place you have absolute right to control who enters. When someone violates that, no matter who they are, no matter their reasons, you have the right to enforce your boundary, even if it costs you relationships, even if people call you unreasonable, even if you end up alone, because being alone in your own space is better than being disrespected in it. 1 year later, I'm thriving. My relationship with Kayla is better than ever. My home is completely mine. My life is peaceful. And I know with absolute certainty I made the right choice. If this story resonates with you, if you've had to choose between keeping the peace and protecting your boundaries, if you've been called selfish for enforcing your rights in your own home, if you've sacrificed relationships to maintain your self-respect, share this. Comment with your experience. Let others know they're not alone. And subscribe to Lindsay Stories, because these truths about boundaries and respect need to be told. Ex-wife on my couch, in my house, without permission. I acted, and I'd do it again. That's everything. Before I close this story, there are some final truths about boundaries and home ownership that need to be said. Things I've learned this past year that might help someone else facing similar situations. The first truth: owning your home before marriage gives you rights that many people don't want to acknowledge. When I bought my house, I was single, divorced, starting over. That house represented my independence, my security, my ability to take care of myself. When David moved in, he was moving into my established space. I wasn't asking him to help me build a home. I was inviting him into a home I'd already built. That distinction matters, legally, emotionally, practically. But society has this expectation that once you marry, everything becomes ours, that maintaining separate property is somehow selfish or withholding. That's not true. You can have a loving, committed marriage while maintaining separate assets, especially when one person brings significantly more into the marriage than the other. My keeping my house in my name only wasn't about not trusting David. It was about protecting what I'd worked hard to build, what I'd paid for entirely on my own, what represented my security if things went wrong. And things did go wrong, and I'm grateful I protected my asset. The second truth: blended families require even clearer boundaries than traditional families. When you marry someone with children, you're not just marrying them. You're entering a complex web of relationships, with their ex, with their children, with their ex's family. And if you don't establish very clear boundaries early on, those relationships will consume you. I should have been clearer with David from the start. Should have said explicitly, "Your ex-wife is not welcome in my home without advance permission. Your daughter is welcome, but she doesn't get to make decisions about who visits here." Instead, I assumed those boundaries were obvious, that any reasonable person would understand you don't invite your ex to your new spouse's house without asking. But assumptions aren't boundaries. Explicit statements are boundaries. And when you're dealing with blended families, where loyalties are divided and histories are complicated, you need those explicit statements. The third truth: step-parents have rights too. Society puts enormous pressure on step-parents to accommodate, to be flexible, to put the biological parent-child relationship above everything else. And yes, those relationships are important, but so are step-parents' rights to their own space, their own boundaries, their own comfort. I wasn't asking Kayla to choose me over Nicole. I wasn't demanding equal status with her mother. I was simply asking that my home, my property, be respected. That's not unreasonable. That's basic respect. But for 8 years, I was made to feel unreasonable every time I asserted myself, every time I said this doesn't work for me, or I need to be consulted about this. Step-parents aren't servants, aren't just supporting players in someone else's family drama. We're people with our own needs, our own boundaries, our own rights, and we deserve to have those rights respected. The fourth truth: you can't save a relationship by sacrificing your boundaries. I know some people reading this think, she should have just let Nicole stay, should have compromised, should have prioritized her marriage over one uncomfortable weekend. But here's what those people don't understand. Letting Nicole stay wouldn't have saved my marriage. It would have just postponed the inevitable conflict. Because the problem wasn't one Christmas. The problem was David's fundamental lack of respect for my boundaries and property. If I'd let Nicole stay, David would have learned. I can violate Janet's boundaries, and she'll accept it if I make it about Kayla. And he would have done it again, and again, until I either had no boundaries left or finally drew a line. Better to draw the line immediately, to make clear that boundary violations wouldn't be tolerated, even if it cost me my marriage, because a marriage built on one person constantly sacrificing their boundaries isn't a healthy marriage. It's a hostage situation. The fifth truth: losing a relationship to protect your boundaries is not failure. After David left, people kept saying things like, "I'm sorry your marriage failed," or "It's sad it ended this way." But my marriage didn't fail. It ended. There's a difference. Failure implies I did something wrong, that I should have tried harder, compromised more, been more flexible. But I didn't fail. I succeeded in protecting my boundaries, in refusing to be disrespected in my own home, in choosing my self-respect over a relationship that required me to abandon it. The relationship ended because David couldn't respect me. That's his failure, not mine. And the ending, while painful, was ultimately healthy, because it freed me from a dynamic that was slowly eroding my sense of self. 6 months ago, something unexpected happened. I got a letter from Nicole. She'd written me an actual handwritten letter mailed to my house. "Dear Janet," it began, "I owe you an apology. I almost didn't read further, but curiosity won. When Kayla invited me for Christmas last year, I should have questioned whether you'd been consulted. I should have called you directly to confirm. Instead, I just accepted Kayla's assurance that it was fine. That was wrong. I was a guest in your home. Your permission was required, not David's, and not Kayla's, and I should have known that. I'm writing because Kayla told me how everything unfolded, how you asked us to leave, how your marriage ended. And while I'm not responsible for your marriage ending, that's between you and David. I am responsible for my part in violating your home. I'm sorry. I should have known better. As someone who owns my own home now, I understand completely why you reacted the way you did. Someone showing up uninvited with luggage planning to stay is unacceptable. I hope you're doing well. And I hope you know that Kayla speaks very highly of you now. Whatever relationship you've built with her this past year, it's genuine and healthy. I'm grateful she has you in her life. Sincerely, Nicole. I read that letter 3 times, stunned. Nicole had apologized, taken responsibility, acknowledged my right to my own space. It was more than David had ever done. I wrote back, thanked her for the apology, said I appreciated her acknowledging the boundary violation, told her I was glad Kayla had her as a mother. We're not friends, probably never will be. But there's a mutual respect now that didn't exist before, and that means something. 4 months ago, David reached out, asked if we could talk. I agreed to meet him. Coffee shop, public place, neutral ground. He looked older, tired. The relationship he'd started after our divorce had ended, apparently. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened," he said. "About Christmas, about us." Okay, I was wrong. About not telling you Nicole was coming. About expecting you to just accept it. About calling you selfish when you enforced your boundary. I waited. This felt significant. I talked to a therapist, worked through some stuff, and I realized I never really respected that it was your house. I moved in and just assumed it would become ours, that your ownership would fade into shared possession. That's exactly what happened. I know. And when you insisted on maintaining your ownership, I felt rejected, like you were keeping part of yourself separate from me. But that wasn't it, was it? No, it was about protecting what I'd built, what represented my security and independence. It wasn't about withholding from you. It was about maintaining something that was mine. I understand that now, and I'm sorry I didn't understand it then. Thank you. That means a lot. I don't expect anything from this apology. I'm not asking to get back together. I just needed you to know. You were right. I violated your boundary. You responded appropriately, and I'm sorry I blamed you for the consequences of my actions. We talked for another hour. It was the most honest conversation we'd had in years, maybe ever. When we left, I felt closure. Real closure. The kind that comes from genuine acknowledgement and apology. David and I will never be friends, but we're no longer enemies, just two people who were married once, who didn't work out, who've both moved on. And that's okay. 3 months ago, I started dating someone, Mark, a widower I met through a friend. He owns his own home too, has adult children who live elsewhere. We're taking it slow, very slow, but there's potential. And the best part, he completely understands about my house. I'd never expect you to sell, he said early on. You built that life before me. If we ever got serious enough to live together, we'd figure something out. But I'd never ask you to give up your home. That understanding, that respect for what I'd built independently, meant everything. We're not moving in together, not even close to that. But knowing he respects my boundaries, my property, my independence makes all the difference. 2 months ago, Kayla got engaged to a man she'd been dating for a year. James, good guy, respectful, kind. She asked me to help her plan the wedding. Not instead of Mom, she clarified, but with Mom. I want both of you involved. Are you sure? That might be complicated. I'm sure. You're both important to me. I want you both there. So Nicole and I have been co-planning Kayla's wedding. It's surprisingly not awkward. We communicate via email, mostly. Divide tasks. Stay respectful. At a venue viewing last month, Nicole and I had coffee afterward. Thank you for doing this, Kayla said, meaning both of us being there. Of course, I said. It means a lot that you two can be in the same room without drama. Nicole and I looked at each other, smiled slightly. We're adults, Nicole said. We can handle this. Plus, I added, we both love you. That's enough common ground. After Kayla left, Nicole and I stayed for a few more minutes. I really am sorry about last Christmas, she said. I know I apologized in the letter, but I wanted to say it in person too. I appreciate that, and I accept your apology. For what it's worth, I think what you did, enforcing your boundary, was brave. A lot of people would have just let it go and been resentful forever. I couldn't do that. I needed to protect my space. I respect that. I do the same with my home. It's important. We're not friends, but we're not enemies either. We're two women who are both important to Kayla, who are both willing to put her first, without sacrificing our own dignity. That's enough. 1 month ago, David got engaged to the woman he'd been dating after our divorce ended. Someone else, 3rd time around for him. Kayla told me, asked how I felt about it. I'm happy for him, I said honestly. I hope this one works out. You're really okay with it? Kayla, your dad and I are over. Have been for almost 2 years now. I want him to be happy. If this woman makes him happy, that's good. You're very mature about this. I'm at peace with how things ended. That makes it easier to be mature. Last week, I had Kayla and James over for dinner to celebrate their engagement properly. We cooked together, laughed, talked about wedding plans. James is great with Kayla, respectful, treats her as an equal partner. Have you two talked about where you'll live? I asked. We're buying a place together, Kayla said. Both putting money down. Both on the deed. Equal ownership from the start. I smiled. That's smart. I learned from watching you, she said, how important it is to maintain your own security, to protect what's yours. James and I are building something together, but we're both making sure we're protected too. I'm proud of you. Thank you. For everything. For teaching me about boundaries even when I fought you. For showing me that self-respect matters more than keeping the peace. After they left, I sat in my living room. My house, my space, completely mine. And I felt profound gratitude for the journey I'd been on, for the lessons I'd learned, for the strength I'd found to protect what was mine. 2 Christmases ago, my stepdaughter brought her mother to my home without permission. I asked them to leave. My marriage ended, and it was the best decision I ever made, because it taught me something crucial. Your boundaries matter. Your property matters. Your right to control your own space matters. More than relationships that require you to abandon those things. More than keeping peace with people who disrespect you. More than any expectation that you should sacrifice yourself for the comfort of others. I'm 53 years old. I own my home outright. I have a good relationship with my stepdaughter. I'm dating someone who respects my independence. I'm at peace, and I got here by enforcing one simple boundary. My home, my rules, my right to decide who stays here. If you're reading this and facing a similar situation, if someone's trying to pressure you to let people into your home without your permission, if your partner is making decisions about your property without consulting you, if you're being called selfish for protecting what's yours, know this: you have the right to enforce your boundaries, even if it costs you relationships, even if people don't understand, even if you end up alone. Because being alone in a space you control is better than being with people who don't respect that space. Share this story if it resonates. Comment with your experiences. Subscribe to Lindsay Stories for more honest conversations about boundaries and respect. My home, my rules, no apologies. That's everything. One final thought before I go. Something I wish I'd understood earlier. Something that might help someone reading this right now. When people violate your boundaries and then blame you for enforcing them, they're revealing something crucial about themselves. They believe their wants matter more than your rights. David wanted to make Kayla happy by letting Nicole come. That want to him was more important than my right to control who stayed in my house. Kayla wanted a fantasy family Christmas. That want was more important to her than my right to be consulted about guests in my home. Their wants were legitimate. I don't dispute that. But wants don't override rights. You have the right to decide who enters your property, who stays overnight, who eats at your table, who sits on your couch. Those rights don't disappear because someone else wants something different. And when you enforce those rights, when you say, no, this doesn't work for me, you're not being mean or selfish or rigid. You're being a person with boundaries, with property rights, with self-respect. The people who truly love and respect you will understand that, will work within those boundaries, will consult you before making decisions that affect your space. The people who don't, who violate first and ask forgiveness later, who expect you to just accept it, who call you selfish when you object, are showing you they don't really respect you, and you deserve better than that. I spent 8 years trying to make a blended family work, trying to accommodate Kayla's needs, trying to be flexible and understanding and patient, and all of that was good, important even. Step-parenting requires those qualities, but I should have been equally firm about my boundaries, should have said from day one, this is my house. I will make decisions about who stays here. That's not negotiable. If I'd done that, maybe the Christmas disaster would never have happened. Or maybe it would have happened sooner and saved me years of compromise. Either way, I'd have protected what was mine. To anyone reading this who owns property, who's in a relationship with someone who doesn't fully respect that ownership, who's being pressured to share control of space that's legally yours, stand firm. Your property is yours. Legally, emotionally, practically. Don't let anyone, not a spouse, not stepchildren, not in-laws, make you feel guilty for maintaining that ownership. You're not being selfish. You're being smart. You're protecting yourself. You're maintaining security that you worked hard to build. And if someone can't respect that, they're not the right partner for you. It's taken me 2 years to fully internalize this lesson. 2 years of therapy, reflection, and rebuilding. 2 years of learning to stand firm in my choices without guilt or doubt. But I'm here now, solid, secure, certain. My home is mine. I control who enters, who stays, who's welcome. And I will never apologize for that again. Thank you for reading my story, for witnessing my journey from violation to enforcement to peace. If this resonates, share it. Help someone else understand that enforcing boundaries isn't cruelty. It's self-preservation. Comment your own stories. Let others know they're not alone in these impossible situations. And subscribe to Lindsay's Stories for more honest conversations about boundaries, respect, and the courage to protect what's yours. Christmas morning. Ex-wife on my couch. My home violated. I acted. And 2 years later, I'm thriving. My home, my rules, my peace. That's everything. To anyone still here, still wondering if they should enforce their boundaries or just let things go to keep the peace, let me tell you what keeping the peace costs. It costs your self-respect, your sense of security, your right to feel safe and in control in your own space. It costs you sleepless nights wondering when the next violation will come, when you'll be expected to accommodate again, when your wants will be sacrificed for someone else's comfort. It costs you your identity, because slowly, gradually, you become someone who doesn't stand up for themselves, who accepts disrespect to avoid conflict, who lets others make decisions about their own life and property. That's too high a price, way too high. Yes, enforcing boundaries has costs too. Relationships may end. People may get angry. You may be alone for a while. But those costs are temporary. The cost of not enforcing boundaries is permanent erosion of who you are. I'd rather be alone in my house, at peace, than partnered with someone who doesn't respect my most basic rights. I'd rather have Kayla in my life as someone who chooses to be here, who respects my space, than have forced family gatherings where I'm disrespected in my own home. I'd rather be called controlling and selfish by people who don't understand boundaries than be walked over by people who should respect me. Those choices are easy now. They weren't easy 2 years ago. But time and healing have given me clarity, and I want to give you that clarity too. If you're reading this and struggling with similar situations, you're not wrong for wanting control over your own property. You're not selfish for enforcing your boundaries. You're not the villain for saying, "No, not in my house." You're protecting yourself, and that's not just okay. It's necessary. Stand firm. Enforce your boundaries. Protect your peace. Even when it's hard. Even when people don't understand. Even when you're called names. Your home, your rules, your right. Don't ever apologize for that. That's everything. 2 years ago, I was called selfish, controlling, unreasonable. Today I'm called strong, principled, self-respecting. Same actions, different perspective. Time reveals truth. The people who called me selfish weren't in my living room that Christmas morning seeing Nicole on my couch uninvited. They weren't living my violation. They were judging from comfortable distance. But I was there. I lived it. I felt the boundary violation in my body, my space, my sanctuary, and I responded with the strength it took to protect what was mine. That's not something to apologize for. That's something to be proud of. My home, my peace, my life, rebuilt, reclaimed, respected. That's everything. Christmas morning, ex-wife uninvited, boundary enforced, marriage ended, peace found. Worth it. Every single cost. Worth it. That's everything.